I think we have an overall objective as you have put it as the economic growth, but this time around we are saying in the past our experience is that we have had economic growth, but that was not a shared growth. Unemployment rates remained very high. Poverty levels were also very high, even though we had growth rates that were reasonable in the sense that there were times when we were growing at a rate of about 7%. Now, between 2008 and now, we have managed to have economic growth at about 5%, which is relatively okay in our context. So as we focus on our programs this time around, we are looking at the key sectors. The key sectors, in as far as the South is concerned, would be agriculture. In the past, agriculture contributed to economic growth. Well, in fact, it was one of the larger contributors to economic growth. But its contribution has been declining over time. So we have to turn it around because we believe that it has a potential. Diversification away from simply crop farming into value building up on the value chain. So that is agriculture. Secondly, we are looking at tourism because we believe that our country has beautiful scenery in as far as tourism is concerned. If we build on that scenery, tourism has a lot to contribute in as far as economic growth is concerned. Mining went down in terms of its contribution. We have diamonds in Lesotho. They were beginning to contribute significantly. We are, again, prioritizing mining as a key sector that can contribute largely to our economic growth in the country. And exploring other minerals. We believe that there is a potential. We are very close to South Africa, and as I've always said, there's no reason why, in fact, some of the minerals like coal, which are found in abundance in South Africa, should just, we are divided by just a river, will not be available in Lesotho. So we are on the voyage of exploration as far as minerals are concerned. And then we are also looking at manufacturing. In the past, we have relied very heavily on the textile industries which were exporting to the United States. But we think there is room for diversification, not necessarily away from textiles as such, but looking into other opportunities, which other products can we explore in as far as manufacturing is concerned. We believe that there is again a potential in that area. We have a number of problems of infrastructure constraints. Infrastructure, hard infrastructure in terms of roads, infrastructure in terms of schools, infrastructure in terms of energy, electricity, water, I'm talking about. So building this or closing the infrastructure gap, again, is a priority area for us. Otherwise, we are saying that the investment environment in Lesotho is not very conducive. So we intend to build up on a good investment environment as far as attractive investment is concerned. Yeah, we'll be looking at PPPs. We have embarked on that model, but when we embarked on the PP model, we did not really have a policy framework. So we need really to build up a policy framework which will give us a support for building up on the appropriate legal framework for regulating the PP structure. But I think as the presentation this morning said, PPPs are not totally a solution to all the problems. It's not every project that is amenable to PPP. And as one of the participants said, in as far as infrastructure, roads infrastructure, ports are concerned, the costs are very high, and even though there is a price of private sector investment or liquidity is very high in the private sector, they have sort of shunned away from these high costs and focus on other areas rather than the kind of hard infrastructure that we require for economic growth. So we are exploring that in this way, but first of all, we have to have appropriate structures and institutions for ensuring that the model works for us. I think for my country, and I think for Africa in general, we have been to quite a number of conferences now. Infrastructure deficit is the biggest challenge for Africa. We could be saying we are producing goods for trade amongst ourselves, but without the necessary infrastructure blocks on the ground, this trade facilitation is not going to be easy. So we have to address, as Africa, these deficits. I don't know how, in fact, we are going to finance this because the costs are very high. Individually, some of the countries may not be able to afford those. So we have to look at the options of financing this infrastructure. Secondly, the investment climate in many of our countries is not very conducive. So we have to build up on the investment climate. If you look at the ratings, most of our countries are way below the good scales that one would want to achieve. So it's hard. Doing business in our countries is very difficult to get a license. In some of our countries, in Lesotho, for example, we have reduced the number of days from something like 3 months, 4 months, to something like a month now, I think, if I'm correct. But we still need to do a lot more to improve on the business climate in our countries. Well, a small country like Lesotho has, again, other challenges. I think this is a challenge that we recognize as far as many African countries. Corruption is very rampant in our country, and it's one area which we need to address for ourselves, for our benefit, but also for ensuring that there is investment that comes into the country. In the health sector, I think the HIV/AIDS pandemic is a major problem in my country, and we have to pour a lot of resources into fighting that kind of scourge to make sure that we have a sustainable population as far as development is concerned. And finally, I think increasingly we have begun to see an increasing unemployment of graduates from our university. And that means that we're beginning to realize maybe what one may call a mismatch between the requirements of the labor market in Lesotho and what is being produced by our institutions. So we need to refocus our education systems and direct more resources into productive education, build up the skills that are required by the labor market for the private sector. Because I think our objective is to say that let's focus more on private sector-driven economic growth rather than the government or the public investing more resources when in fact the private sector could actually do the job for us.